It's good. It's better than people are making it out to be. Every time I do one of these, feels like I've got to dissect process and other camera comparisons. Starting off with the conclusion at the top of this video, OnePlus has made some clumsy moves here, but this is a solid hardware platform which delivers solid results even with the default software. Speaking about the 7 Pro as a phone holistically, it's one of the best pocket computers you can buy, even if it's not always the best communicator, and the cameras are good to very good in most shooting situations. Gadgets and cameras require nuance, not thumbs up, thumbs down, here's a single number score kinds of grades. And that's where the 7 Pro got into trouble. A quick recap, this phone got a crazy high DxO mark score, rating higher than the Mate 20 Pro and Galaxy S10. When you understand the insultingly low estimation of DxO testing, it's not difficult to see how a manufacturer could design a camera experience which would crush in those limited laboratory conditions, but also manage to fall a bit short for consumers in real-world conditions. This is both the charm and the frustration of reviewing a OnePlus. It's also why this review took so bloody long to produce. The shooting experience today is significantly different than what we started with at launch. Updates have ramped so fast, I've reshot large portions of this review several times. And while I feel confident that this current flavor of 7 Pro is a respectable representation of what this phone can do, I also have to acknowledge that this is still an incomplete review, as OnePlus is still talking about activating features and refining performance. This is a crazy difficult moving target to keep a bead on, but at some point, we just need to pin it down. Triple cameras. The big improvement here is hardware, with a 1/2-inch monster main sensor, a true optical 3x zoom, and another company wisely joining the ranks of ultra-wide photography. Now, shots lean away from the current sharpening and structure zeitgeist. Output here is softer than a competing premium option, and the 7 Pro has a tendency to lean into some odd saturation and ambience choices, especially driving HDR and night mode hard in low light conditions. But the larger sensor delivers on a respectable amount of data to edit with. It produces a beautiful depth of field. But OnePlus continues to stumble on a handful of performance issues that have consistently plagued the brand. A bummer for a phone which is an absolute screamer speedster to still see that bit of shutter lag in the stock camera app. Shutter lag that mysteriously disappears when using another camera app. There's nothing to be much concerned about out of the box. This isn't the best shooter of the year, but it's far from the worst, and it complements the rest of the premium hardware pretty well. You want to see how I came to this conclusion? Of course you do. Why else would you be here? Reviewing a camera is more than just counting all 48 megapixels and pushing the auto shutter button for the good colors. So buckle up, folks. I like to show my work. We have a lot of ground to cover, so I'm gonna try to move pretty quick. Starting off with hardware. This phone took so long to shoot. Triple cameras, more than triple the amount of work you have to do out in the field. The crown jewel is, of course, the 1/2-inch main sensor. More surface area than what you get on Samsung, LG, iPhone, or Pixel. A super pixel-dense setup that is designed to spit out a 12 megapixel image, all that extra information aiding in reducing noise and improving light acquisition. That monster shooter is flanked by a competent ultra-wide and zoom sensor lens combination, but it wouldn't be a OnePlus review without some drama and controversy. There was a brief moment of teeth gnashing over the advertised specs of the zoom sensor, and some folks who don't seem to understand things like crop factors and optics were displeased and airing their grievances on the internet. OnePlus delivers exactly what they advertised. No software tricks, no gimmicks. It's exactly the opposite situation from when this company software upscaled to get you a 2x zoom. You really do get a 3x zoom at 8 megapixels on the OnePlus 7 Pro. If you somehow still need more reassurance, I wrote up the math behind this on my blog, and that's linked in the description below. With that drama out of the way, how about we take a look at some samples? Starting off, as always, with exposure and saturation. This camera leans bright. So how does this stack up against other $700-ish phones? Tricky. Out of the box, it'll likely lose more software fights than it'll win. But against Galaxies and LGs, the hardware offers up some clear photographic advantages. It's just a bit harder to realize the sensor size advantage because of the software. The main takeaway: it's not as compromised as many have made it out to be. Performance here is nowhere near being a deal breaker, though it is fair to bring up some concerns which will hopefully be addressed in future software updates, making my review process as complicated as possible. OnePlus continues to hover in this upper mid-pack placement where just a little more refinement could easily pop them into top-tier consideration. But at least there is a unique advantage for 2019, that main camera sensor. It is something you can't get on Samsung, LG, or Apple, but you also have to work just a little harder to really use it. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing the Patreon posts. These camera deep dives are Patreon exclusives, so if you're watching this, you rock! Thank you for supporting production on this channel. Or you're a dirty, filthy thief.